Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Welcome to The Real Female Entrepreneur. Today, we're diving into the world of sound with a guest who has mastered the art of voice. Since 2007, she's been the voice behind major brands like Dell, Kraft, Lindt. Plus, oh my God, if we just keep going on, we'll be here forever. Not only does she specialize in brand voice, commercials, and podcast intros, but she's also the mastermind behind audio branding, the hidden gem of marketing. She is at the top 2% of podcasts. Oh man, that is a wish, a dream. I can't wait. And a sci-fi loving, music singing, storytelling powerhouse. She knows how to make business sound as good as they look. Love that. Buckle up and get ready to hear branding like never before. Give it up for the incredible Jodi Krangle. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're truly amazing. You are so unique in what you do and how you do it. I need to know what inspired you to actually go into the industry that you're in and become the amazing entrepreneur you are.
Well, I'm kind of a left and right brained person, so I love computers and I got on the internet the minute that it existed. And made my living there for a while. I did internet marketing and SEO for quite some time, from like 95 until 2007. And then in 2007, I don't think this is unique for entrepreneurs in general. You just get so bored of what you were doing that you cannot imagine continuing another day. And so that was how I felt in 2007. That was like when Google became it. That was the only search engine left. It used to be a really interesting game, right? You used to have a whole bunch of different search engines. You could, creatively tweak this and add content here, and you'd see the results, 2 weeks, maybe a month later, but you'd actually see results. And then Google came around and it was like a science as opposed to an art. It just became boring. And so I decided, it had been in the back of my mind that I was going to do voiceover and try that out. I had gone and volunteered my time at the CNIB, which is the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And I was reading books onto tape, reel to reel tape at the time. This was 95, 96. And actually, it was more like reading magazine articles onto the reel to reel tape. And I found that I really enjoyed the voicing, but I also enjoyed the tech. I got such a thrill out of running the actual tape machine that I thought, well, okay, let's just think about this and where it fits in. And then 2007 came around and the internet was amazing and I could reach everybody around the world. And the idea of being able to record at home was more of a possibility. It was becoming easier to do. And so I thought I would give it a try. I've also been a singer all my life. My family is very musical. We grew up doing sing-alongs as opposed to story time before bedtime. So that was, it's all, voice has always been a part of my life, really, from very early on.
So, explain exactly what audio branding does and podcast, because I mean, it's so intriguing. And I'm like, okay, I need to learn more from her. Just our conversation right above, I learned why mics sound different ways.
Yeah, audio branding is a large umbrella of a bunch of things. And yes, it does include brand voice, as in the voiceover that you use, but it includes the music and the sound effects and what you're playing on your on hold and what you play music wise to, get your CEO onto a stage for a speech, or the internal music that you use when you're in a meeting, or even the audio that plays inside your office if you happen to have a space where people are on a regular basis. outside people coming into your business, or your the people who work in your business, their sound environment. There's a lot that goes into this. It could also have to do with sounds of your products. Like, for instance, when GE kettles are finished boiling, they have a sound that they make. And those kinds of things can definitely be a part of an audio branding spectrum. And, I think things like TD Bank just dropped their audio branding, and a lot of, like, it's a little mnemonic that plays on the end of all of their commercials and all of their videos, and things like that. So it has a lot to do with a whole bunch of different things, but it's all about the branding sound of your company. The way that you have logos and fonts and colors for your company, you could also have sound effects, voice, and music for your company.
And you teach that, correct?
I don't teach it.
You don't
No, no,
teach
no,
it.
no. No,
Wow.
I talk to a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about it on the podcast. That's why I have the podcast.
Mhm.
And I don't do it for people because I feel that these other people are the people that should be called for it. They've been doing it years. They know what they're doing. And I am happy to direct people to the companies that might best help them, depending on what they need. But yeah, I don't actually do it myself. I'm a part of it.
Right.
As a voice actor, I love the voicing. That's what I do. I do voiceovers, and I love doing that. The brand voice, the voice of a corporate narration, internally, externally for trade shows, the beginning of podcasts, intros and outros. I love it all. The voicing is what I adore. That's my calling. And that's part of an audio brand. So that's why I started talking about it, because I was often the last person that was being called onto a project. And it struck me that maybe people should be paying a little more attention to the sound they use on these projects, as opposed to just tacking it on at the end like a band-aid.
But and you're in your podcast, you literally talk about tips, techniques, tools, and how to get it done.
Yeah, a lot of my guests are very knowledgeable about that. They use it on a regular basis, and they talk about how they use it for other companies. And, I talk about not just audio branding specifically, but I talk about how sound influences us in general, because it's important in our everyday lives. It's not just important in the things that we buy.
Well, I think it's unique because think of a movie itself or a series.
Hmm.
They all have an intro to them, or like you said, this other one had an outro, a ding or something behind it.
Hmm.
And I can hear that music and go, okay, that's that movie, that's that series before anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And also think about the movie and remove the sound. What kind of an experience is that for you? There's no emotion. That's the thing that I love talking about when it comes to the audio, the sound of things in general, of whatever we're putting out there in the world. It gives us the emotional context. So when you are watching a movie and you're just seeing it, you're getting the information. You may even understand what's happening, but you won't care. That's kind of the big problem. And as far as buying decisions are concerned, we don't buy based on logic. We buy based on how things make us feel. And the sound is what makes us feel.
Yeah. So think about, remember McDonald's had that jingle that we
Hmm.
all sang. Yeah, I mean, food seems to have jingles with it as well.
Yeah, jingles have evolved over the years. It's a strange phenomenon in that they started out being, very repetitive, I guess, so that they would be memorable. And that's a great thing. Being consistent in your repetition makes that audio brand memorable. And I think part of the problem that people experience now is that now that jingles aren't really a thing and they are trying to sort of move on to something else, I guess, they've kind of forgotten that consistent repetition is needed. And so they change things up all the time, which isn't great for your audio brand because it makes it less memorable. We don't get comfortable anymore. We can't get comfortable with something. And really, the less brain power you're asking people to use, the more likely they are to remember you.
Ooh, that's a good tip because the brain power is the thing because our brains are everywhere these days.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's all about interrupting our day. That's everything trying to get our attention. And first of all, sound cuts through all that noise. And second of all, it's a lot more memorable if you hear something many, many times
Mm.
and you start to get used to it.
Yep. That's key, the repetition.
Yeah. It's comfortable. We prefer comfort. That's human nature.
Yeah, comfort songs, comfort music, comfort
Exactly.
food.
Yeah, and plus when you hear something and you just mentioned, comfort songs. There are songs that we hear that take us back to wherever we first heard them or when we were listening to them, a particular experience that impressed itself on us and we remember it and that song brings it back. The way that scents do as well. Like if you smell something and you remember, let's say your grandmother's baking, and you in the kitchen helping her mix a bowl of cookies or something like that. And you remember the squeak of the floorboard that's underneath you. So it's the scent and the sound of that experience. And then if you later on in life hear the squeak of a floorboard in a kitchen, you're, immediately brought back to that moment. It's just amazing how much it can make us time travel.
I love time travel, so
Mm-hmm.
that is a cool thing. So let's talk time travel.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to go back in time,
Mm-hmm.
what would you tell your 18-year-old self regarding business?
I would say don't worry so much about being successful and worry about having experiences.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things that we forget as adults is that failure allows us to learn and not being so hard on yourself at especially at a young age when you have very little experience and understanding that you are going to fail but you're going to learn a lot when you do that, and it's going to inform everything that comes after. I know that I would not be where I am if I hadn't had those failures, if I hadn't had those experiences. There's a whole bunch of experiences that I went through that led me to this moment. So let it make you.
So, talking about experiences
Mm-hmm.
and life in general, what advice do you have for women who are trying to grow their own careers right now and are like a little stifled?
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially now. Again, it's almost the same advice that I would have for my younger self. Just don't be afraid of failure. It doesn't mean that you're done. The only way that failure would mean you're done is if you don't get up again. That's the only way that it means that you're done. So be tenacious. Hold on, try again, keep going.
That is so true.
Mm,
Holding on, failing, holding on, and being persistent and
hmm.
tenacious is the key to being the entrepreneur that you are because
Yeah.
things aren't going to go perfect.
Oh, yeah. And often it's the person who's been in it the longest that ends up with the success. It's not the person who, you know, who's been overnight success, right?
Mhm.
Overnight success just means you stuck it out. And now you're seeing the results of that.
Yeah. And I mean, things happen. I mean, I'm sure in the sound booth, things happen all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a pin can drop and it can be heard.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's all sorts of ways that things, technology is an interesting thing. Sometimes I could be in a session with a client and my internet could go off, like there's all sort, you just need to have ways to get around the problems and clients who understand and just, continue the way that you're going and do the best that you can. And ultimately it's about serving the people that you have decided to serve and
Mm.
figure out who that is and how you can best serve them and figure out how if there's a problem you can get around that problem.
Serving is another. You have like hit so many key components here. Oh my word. And finding that tribe to actually serve is
Hmm.
another key.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
talking about some strategies, what has helped you advance in your career that maybe other people have said, "Oh no, don't go do that. That's not going to work," but you did it anyway. I like those unique things.
That's an interesting thought, and actually I think it kind of pertains to the book question that you might have been asking later on. There's
Mhm.
a book called The Wealth of Connection by a guy named Vincent Puglisi, who it's fairly recent actually. I think it's been the last 3 years, and it's a really, really good read. And he is a really interesting character in that he puts a lot of stock into the connections that you have and nurturing those connections, not with an end result in mind, but just because you want to know people, you want to understand how they tick, you want to be able to help them and serve them if they need it, and that kind of a thing. So the idea that the people around me are really not entirely responsible, because I will take some credit for that, but a lot of my success has to do with the people around me and who they recommended me to, and who they knew and then introduced me to. And, a lot of that is stuff that builds up over time. So, again, it's not going to happen overnight. This is something that you have to invest your time in getting to know people, in understanding how they do what they do and why they do what they do, and seeing where you can help them in that with no end goal in mind other than getting to know them better.
So, and I love how you're joining 2 things together. You have to have that connection first, and
Hmm.
then you have to build that relationship.
Yeah, but it's more of an authentic relationship when you don't want anything from it.
Right.
That's kind of the point, you know. Uh, he says in the book that, or actually, I think I just uh, listened or read something on social media that he posted not long ago about how he had nothing to sell when he was making his connections. He just decided that was what he was going to do, and then when he did have something to sell, those people automatically went out and helped him with it. Like it was just, something that they felt that they wanted to do because they wanted to help him. So, that's kind of how it works. People
Mhm.
can tell when you are after one thing and that's it.
Yeah,
Authenticity is a big important thing, and I think a lot of people forget that.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so let's do this. Let's add it in. So we have the connection, the relationship with no outcome expectation
Mhm.
from it.
Yep.
It's this unconditional love and authenticity coming
Yep.
at them. And that in today's world, that is really what needs to happen.
Yeah. It really is. We could use a lot more of that.
So, as an entrepreneur, owning your own business, doing what you do, how do you balance family and work?
Well, I don't have kids, so that makes it probably a lot easier for me as opposed to some other people. So I will admit that right now.
But we did
Uh,
talk about that because we have parents too.
yeah, yeah,
And
and I
so,
I have aging parents,
yes, me
exactly,
too.
and so yeah, they require attention, as does my husband. So these things are definitely, there is balance required. I just, I don't have a plan. Maybe a lot of people do, but I try to keep up with stuff, and then I know that if someone needs my attention, that's where I need to put it. And family is important, and definitely that is a priority.
Mhm.
And you just, yeah, I don't know. Balance is something that I'm constantly seeking. I don't think I will ever have the answer for that. I don't know anyone who really has the answer for that. That's a tough one.
Yes, and so I bring that up for the simple reason it's a fallacy that we have, that people are always like, "Oh, you gotta keep a balance, you gotta keep this."
in our business, it's like a dance, like you said, a ebb and flow. Which way are we going? How to
Yeah.
maneuver? Like Monday, I had 6 people that were lined up, and you might have been one of them that I had to maneuver for the simple reason that my mother was having a procedure. Unfortunately, that's life. We have to
Yeah.
maneuver. You
Yeah.
know, she's
Yeah.
fine, but it's still a maneuver we have to
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm
thank God
glad she's
everybody.
well.
Thank you, and I'm glad everybody's like everybody's so easy to understand these days too.
Yeah, it's
Don't you
pretty
find
face
that?
forward. Yeah.
Really is. All
Yeah.
right, tell us about any future plans you might have or goals so we can keep an eye out on it for you and with
Well,
you.
I just am keeping up with the podcast, and I this is a year. This is into. I think we're almost into year 6. Actually, I started it in November 2019, so I'm not doing the math properly. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, it's been a while. I love it. I talk to people who work in sound on behalf of clients. So if anyone who's listening right now is someone like that, I would love to talk with them. It's at audiobrandingpodcast.com. I just released a podcast episode this morning that talks about AI in sound. And that's a solo episode, so could be interesting to people because there's a lot going on with AI. And
With sound. Wait,
yeah,
with sound. Okay.
with
That's
sound.
the first
Yeah.
time I'm hearing about this, so I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. So, voice is being replaced, reworked, melded with AI. There's a lot going on with that in music. There's a lot going on in composing music. All sorts of Vocaloid stuff that's really interesting that's going on. But we have to know what the difference is. Like, can we tell the difference between a computer generated sound or a human generated sound? And there's lots of back and forth in, how that should be done, if it should be done, all sorts of interesting ideas. So I think it'll be an interesting melding of the both. Of all of it when all of this shakes out, but it's not done by any means. Yeah. And then I'm just putting it out into the universe that I am really looking for voiceover projects that have to do with travel and tourism because I love that area, that industry in the audio world. And voiceover wise, those are the projects that I'm looking for in particular, although I'll do all sorts of things. That's kind of, I'm putting it out into the universe that I'd like to do more of travel and tourism because I really love that. And I'm at voiceoversandvocals.com if people would like to hear my demos and understand what I do and maybe want to talk.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
So let's go back podcast. I love your podcast. So tell me, and it's just to help. You've been doing it for 6 years.
Mhm.
So we have people here who have been podcasting for a minute, maybe just starting out.
Mhm.
What did it take to get you to the top 2%?
Ooh, tenacity and just doing it regularly. So I release an episode every Wednesday morning, and I've been doing that nonstop since I started. So consistency, tenacity, uh, just keeping at it. Again, if you just keep at it and you're the only one left standing at the end, that's success of its own.
Yeah, you're the jam.
I mean, yeah. And it's funny because in podcasting, you never know who's listening. People won't really tell you. You'll hear every once in a while someone will say, "Oh, that was a great episode," yeah, and you're like, "What? You're listening?"
On the back
Oh,
end, you
okay. So that's one person listening.
yeah, on the
Yeah,
back end, you can see views, but they
yeah.
don't know who.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know. So it's the top 2%, but honestly, I did not do anything other than keep on doing it to get there and making good product, doing a podcast that has an emphasis on sound and sounds good and looks good and has those elements to it, I don't want to hurt people's ears on a podcast that talks about the power of sound. So, putting out a good production is first and foremost, really, and making sure I have interesting conversations with interesting guests.
Yeah. I love interesting guests. That makes it more fun.
It
So,
does. Yeah.
talk about interesting. I think I know what you're going to say, but if
Mhm.
you had a superpower for just one day, 24 hours, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. People have asked me about this before. I honestly don't have a good answer. I am really not sure. Um,
I
Persuasion
was
is kind
expecting,
of,
oh,
yeah, I would say
oh,
persuasion is a good superpower to have. Not against their will, but but having a good ability for that, I think would be very useful.
that's the first time I've ever got that. That's awesome.
I don't know if I'd
So,
term it as a superpower, but
that is a superpower.
it could be
Yeah.
very useful. Yes.
Yeah. Your
What were you
dream
expecting?
client.
I'm now curious.
Okay, well, let's do this and I'll tell you. Your dream client. Think of your dream client.
Hmm.
And you know exactly what's going to happen and you're able to persuade them and get it
Oh
because that
yeah.
is your dream client. I mean,
Yep.
that is a superpower. Sorry.
Yep. Yep. That would be very, very helpful.
At the very beginning, you mentioned time travel. So I'm like, you're going to tell
Oh,
me time travel.
yeah, that's I've watched a lot of science fiction, and it's never a good thing. That's why I would never want that. It's a lot of responsibility. Things change. I mean, I am the person that I am because of the things that I went through. So while it might be good to have less pain in my life, like I think everyone would like that, it shapes the person that you become. And so I would not want to change that. So time travel for me would not be as useful, I don't think.
Persuasion would be.
Yeah, I think
Your
I'd like
top
that
10
one.
clients, you nailed that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What's one fun fact about you that not a lot of people know about?
Uh, okay, I'm not sure that a lot of people know. I don't hide it, but I am a D&D player, so I play Dungeons and Dragons, and I collect dice, and I have a lot of dice. A lot of dice.
I can't believe you're a D&D player.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's great for improv. I'll tell you. It helps my job. It helps me in my job because thinking on my feet is really what you got to do when you're playing that. So it's very that's a very big part of it. And
Okay.
uh and yeah, the dice are like jewels to me. Like I have no jewelry really. Like I don't have anything worth anything. Like it's but my dice they're like those are my jewels.
Okay, so like everywhere you go, you get dice and
I
do
totally
you
do. I
like
totally do.
do
I
you
have them
play dice?
stashed all over this office. I have a tackle box next to my desk here full of dice. It's
Okay,
incredible.
do you like playing dice?
Well, I use them when I'm playing D&D. So,
Okay.
yes. Yeah. And the fun thing is that I have enough of them and probably way more than enough of them to have a different set of dice for each character that I happen to play. And you can sort of pick the dice based on the personality of the character.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, now you're talking my language because
Yeah.
I'm a personality guru.
Mm-hmm.
Love personalities. And the fact that the different personalities with the different dice
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Oh my God. So if somebody's really like blingy, you can like bring out the shiny. Do you have
Oh
any
yeah.
rhinestone wind? Like a rhinestone wind? I can
I
just
don't have
see.
rhinestone. I do have jade.
Ooh.
And I have obsidian. So there are some that are like semi-precious, but like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't have like,
I
rubies
can
or anything
see
like
like
that.
a
Like
all rhinestone. I'm saying rhinestone. I wouldn't do like,
there are
where
ones that have sparkles in them. The thing is they need to roll. They need to still roll properly. So you couldn't have them covered in rhinestones because it wouldn't roll properly. But inside you can have interesting things inside the resin of the dice, which, like I've seen ones that have dragon eyes in them. Like, it's very, very cool. Yeah, you could do a lot. Yeah, really interesting pieces of artwork, really.
So I have to ask, do you have dice earrings or dice necklace or anything like that? I mean, it's costume jewelry. It's not fancy.
Yeah, I don't tend to wear necklaces or bracelets, so I just don't have anything like that. I probably could have earrings like that, but I don't. I like holding them in my hand.
I love it. I think it's so great. I love talking about these things. All right. Do you have another book?
I don't have any books. I am not an author.
No, do you have any other books you like?
You know what? Outlier by Malcolm Gladwell. That was a really interesting book that I really enjoyed just because a lot of people talk about the niches and I think that kind of demonstrated where you could go with that. And it was a really interesting, these are the people who did something completely different and made it work really well.
And that's you. You're very niche down. You're not going and doing all these other things. You're just very niche down. I love that for you.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Songs. Do you have some favorite songs? We're all about sound here. So what are some songs that get us moving and grooving?
I love Queen. So just about anything that Queen does. I'm a big fan of harmonies. So what is that song that they have? Okay. Now I'm not remembering it now. But there's Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now. Is that what it's called? I think that's something like that. Anyway, yeah, that's like one of my favorite songs of theirs. There's the harmonies are, that's why I fell in love with ELO, like, it's, like I'm old school. Yeah, I love that stuff.
All right. What about a favorite quote?
Do you mind if I swear? Okay. So Mel Robbins has a quote that is, don't talk shit, do shit, which I really appreciate. I thought it was very to the point, and that's how I would like to live my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. How do you stay motivated?
Oh, you know what? For me, it's just that I don't want to stop. I hate being bored. Boredom motivates me a lot. I just don't want to be bored. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, how do you do what you do? It's because I don't have
because I got to do something.
I want to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Well, my social media is all pretty much at Jodi Krangle, and on YouTube, I'm Jodi Krangle VO, all one word. And then if you want to come by my website, that's at voiceoversandvocals.com, and the podcast is there as well. So they should be able to get everything from that one URL.
So is there anything else you want to actually share with our audience today that we didn't talk about or you want to expand on?
Oh, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, go see her podcast. Go listen to her podcast. Oh my God.
If you're interested in the power of sound and you want to know how it influences our buying decisions and our daily lives, then yeah, the podcast is a great way to get some more information on that. And I think for small businesses, it can really be helpful to actually think about the sound, not just your visuals, because you're going to make a deeper impression on the people who experience your brand if you do.
Yeah. All right. Jodi, it was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.